Now this is a big heavy car, but it's so zippy. The turning radius, you can zip around in a parking lot really easy. The acceleration, the handling, everything, it makes you just feel like you can zip around, even though it's a large, heavy, really just big SUV kind of thing. Even though it looks kind of like more like a car to me, but yeah, it's really fun to drive. When you're in a hurry or something, you're kind of zipping through traffic and going from one block to the next, taking shortcuts and alternate routes because you're in a hurry. You could do it, and you don't feel like you're like, oh man, this thing is too big and it's going to be a big problem. It just handles it, and it's just a pleasure to drive, really, overall. When I first started driving this vehicle, it was actually in sport mode, and I didn't really realize it. And when I looked into settings, you have to go in the sub menu to get to the drive modes. So when I found the drive modes, I was able to see that I was in sport mode, and then I changed it to touring, or tour is what it's called. And I couldn't really tell a huge difference. So tour sounds good to me, because I want to drive in a Cadillac. I want a smooth, comfortable ride. I don't want any kind of like jerkiness to the acceleration or the braking or the regen braking or anything like that. So I just want a smooth, comfortable, quiet ride. So the Tour definitely delivers on that. The sport mode, it wasn't really a big deal, but I just left it on Tour. Now it has a snow mode and stuff like that as well, but if you need that, but obviously there's no snow now for me to test. But yeah, it drives like I would think. I don't have a lot of experience with modern Cadillac vehicles. I have driven Cadillacs in the past, older vehicles. So this one, to me, drives like I would think an EV Cadillac would drive like. It just feels like, hey, this feels like a Cadillac drive. It's smooth and comfortable and fairly quiet. And it has power, like Cadillacs typically have a little bit of power. And of course, since it's an EV, it has power, but also just in general, it just feels confident with a little bit of delay in the pedal. It's not a performance vehicle. So a lot of EVs have this very responsive pedal response. It's like as soon as you hit the accelerator, it's like taking off. So this one is a little bit soft, a little slight delay, just to give you a little bit of a rounded acceleration. It doesn't jerk you or anything like that. Same thing with the Regen. Now it does have a one pedal type drive system here. It also has the Regen little button right here. It's pressure sensitive, so the harder you pull it, the more it slows you down and regenerates electricity for the battery, basically, is what this Regen stands for. So like if we're just going down down a steep hill, this isn't steep enough, but because this will slow you down to a complete stop, this little Regen button right here, it slows down just like if you're braking. It actually has a blended braking system, so when you hit the brake pedal, it's not actually using all brakes, the friction brakes. It's actually it's the Regen system slowing you down mostly, which is great because you don't have much brake dust on the wheels. So when you're cleaning the wheels, you can there's no brake dust there because it's not using the brake pads very much. It's mostly the Regen, which is great for efficiency and just saving your brake pads for the most part. But you always have that braking ability when you really need it. When you really press the brake pedal really hard, it'll definitely slow down. So if you're going down a hill or something, that Regen system with that, you can set a little bit, harder Regen, but you can also use this little button here to really slow you down, so you're never using your brakes really if you don't have to, going down a hill. If you're in the mountains or something, you know what I'm talking about. You don't want to be riding the brake the whole time because it will cause a problem. They'll get brake fade. Basically, the pads will get too hot, and the rudder will get too hot, and the brakes just won't work at a certain point. This one doesn't have that problem. It's like a dream for going down hills because you're actually charging the battery as you're doing it. There's no problem getting up to speed. accelerates fast, and it's just but there is a little bit of a delay when you hit the pedal. It's intentional, like it's not a defective thing. It's intentional to give you that rolling acceleration. But yeah, you get out there really nice, and there's no gear shifts to be concerned about. There's nothing like that. There's no revving up an engine or anything like that. It just gives you a little bit of a rounded acceleration. And it has a super cruise, which is pretty interesting because I thought that the Super Cruise was going to be only on certain highways, but actually there's a lot of like back roads and almost everywhere you can use the Super Cruise. And it gives you this little green light right here on the steering wheel, and you don't have to hold the steering wheel. Like, it actually steers for you when it's enabled. Now if this is blue, then it's not activated, but it is turned on. It's just not actually seeing the lines or something like that. But once it turns green, it does a decent job of holding the lane. Now it holds the lane. That's what it's not a self-driving thing. It's just holding the lane for you. It's not going to avoid potholes or road hazards or 2x4s in the road or animals, or if a vehicle swerves in your lane, probably not going to, avoid that. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. It's just basically holding the lane for you, which makes it much easier for just a monotonous highway drive or something like that. Now, I noticed when it tells you to take control over Super Cruise, it'll tell you right before it disables. It doesn't feel like it has a grip sensor. You actually have to jiggle the steering wheel in order for it to know that you're holding the steering wheel. Kind of odd, I would think that it would have some kind of grip sensor to let you, to know that you're holding it, but apparently it doesn't. Really like the rear view camera, although this one is kind of small and it's a little bit bright, and the colors, it's a little bit desaturated. It's not the best camera system, but the positioning is great, and I just like rear view cameras in general. The overall seat, I would expect it to be slightly more comfortable since it's a Cadillac, but it's fine. It's not really a big deal. Once you position it right, it has a massage function. It has heated, cooled, and all the controls are here on the door. You're not like reaching around on the side of the seat trying to feel for them. They're right there, easy to get to. You also have the 4-way lumbar adjustments. So yeah, it's pretty good. A lot of positives to say about the seat, but it is just a little bit, you would think it'd be a little bit softer, since you got a Cadillac going on. The legroom is great. You have wide open space here. Quiet interior. At low speeds, you do hear that little bit of a like electronic noise. Since it's an EV, I guess that's mandated to have some kind of exterior noise, and you can hear it inside the vehicle. But once you get over, I think it's like 30 miles per hour or something like that, or maybe less, it goes away, and even at fairly high speeds, it's fairly quiet. Now it has the map system that's made by Google, and it actually, you can, as you're driving, if you're like, hey, I need to charge, you can use the Google system, use your voice, like, hey, find the nearest charging station, and it'll do it for you. So it has a pretty good voice recognition system, and it has a lot of different commands that you can do with just your voice. It's pretty good because it does. You don't have to say super duper specific word, phrases. It'll just like understand what you're saying more than most voice recognition systems anyway. And it's activated by your voice as well. So, that's something to consider as far as, I guess, privacy, because it's constantly listening. All you have to do is say, okay, Google, find the nearest charging station.
There's ChargePoint charging station 0.8 miles away. Want to navigate there?
No.
What about Blink charging station 1.1 miles away?
Cancel.
Okay.
So yeah, it's you know, you're able to just speak to it naturally, and it understands. I haven't really had a problem with it, just misunderstanding or anything. Talking. You don't have to like raise your voice or anything like that. You just talk normal. It understands and it does what you want. Okay, Google, turn off the climate control.
Sorry, I can't control that in this car.
Okay, Google, turn down the climate control.
Got it. Turning down the temperature.
Okay, so I couldn't turn off the climate control, but I was able to turn down the temperature on the climate control. So yeah, I guess it has certain limitations, but it's able to control some of the features of the vehicle. Overall, I think this is a very enjoyable vehicle to drive. I like the way it gets attention. I mean, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, I drive a lot of different new cars. This car has gotten more attention than just about any other car, especially at night. So during the day, it looks good, but at nighttime, there's this very unique lighting style that it has. And that's where it really gets attention in a parking lot. Like just getting out of the grocery store and going and putting groceries in the car, there's like 6 people mobbing me, asking questions about the car and looking at it and stuff. It's happened a couple of times now, so it's pretty interesting. It does look great at night, so if you want to check out my night video, I have detailed video showing you how it looks and also how usable it is at night, and any pluses and negatives that you might need to consider. Just for fun, I got it in sport mode, and go ahead and accelerate here. Now I can feel it does feel a little bit more responsive, the pedal and everything. Also the exterior noise, it's like electronic noise, tends to stay with the vehicle even at higher speeds instead of turning off at higher speeds like the Touring. So yeah, you do get a more responsive pedal for acceleration and everything. But yeah, the extra noise is a thing. Now it does have the snow mode, but also the My mode, which you can customize. So like if you want to have more responsive pedal, but you don't want the exterior noise, you could probably do something like that. But I think the Touring, for a Cadillac, it seems like that's the best for me. Seems to work. Because once I get out on the road, I'm turning on the cruise control and potentially the Super Cruise as well. So, I'm not really in a situation where the sport mode to me doesn't really add much. I mean, it gives you a little bit of a more responsive pedal, but it's already fast. It already gives you plenty of power, and the little bit of extra noise that it has is I don't really care for. So and I like the way you can quickly change views here. You can just hit a button and they're always up here on the left side. So if you want to change the view, you don't have to go into some sub menu like you do have to for the drive modes. The map can be there, and your assist system's here. It's very simple and easy to read, and some people might enjoy this clean look. Okay, so it's on Super Cruise right now, so let's try a lane change. Well, there's nobody really around right now, so let's go ahead and put the turn signal on, and it just changes lanes. Straightens out, and you have to turn the turn signal off yourself apparently. But yeah, changes lanes, no problem. Now let's go ahead and go back. It's got the lane or the blind spot detection system, kind of make sure that you're good. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's go to assist here, so we can see what that looks like there in the center. Because it was kind of off to the side, you might not have seen that. Yeah, still on the side, but hopefully you see a little bit going on there. There's something you can't see, and that is the seat will vibrate at certain times to get your attention, whether it be the Super Cruise turning off, or if you're getting too close to other vehicles, or some kind of alert that is trying to get your attention. It'll actually vibrate the seat, and you can't really hear it on camera, and you can't really see it. So I just want to mention that the seat does vibrate to get your attention at certain times. One of the interesting things about the Super Cruise that's quite different than the average lane keep assist system is that it has road information, and it takes that into account. So what it does is it knows that there's a sharp curve ahead. So it preemptively slows you down to handle that curve more appropriately. So it doesn't necessarily just keep you flat out at your set speed. It will slow you down if there's a curve. It'll start slowing down before you get to the curve, like as it's doing now. It's slowing down, and then it's able to handle the curve at an appropriate speed, and then it speeds back up. Now, a lot of other vehicles, it doesn't slow down until actually the steering wheel is actually turning. This one does it beforehand. So I thought that was very interesting, and really it works well. It works well, you know. It doesn't slow you down too much, and it doesn't, you know, try to go through a sharp curve like full blast. So I'm driving at full speed, and I would just hit this Regen button. Just hold it down. I'm not holding the brake at all. Not touching the brake at all. Come to a complete stop right there. So right there, 0, just by holding that button. And I can take off. And then if I want to do a gently slow down, I can just barely pull it, and it'll slow me down just a little bit extra, you know. But yeah, I can come to a complete stop. And on the times, during the times in which you can, you know, use this button when there's not urgent to slow down, like to stop or whatever, this does recharge the battery quite a bit, because it's a heavy vehicle and it's using that inertia to slow you down. So like if I go up here and I, you know, just learn the pressure on this button, I can come to a complete stop at this stop sign, basically no problem, without even pressing the brakes. Now, when you're going very slow, it's not charging the battery that much. Now, okay, so now I'm at a complete stop using that button, and it's just holding me here. I'm not going forward, so I'm not touching anything, and it's just holding me here until I hit the accelerator, basically. So it's somewhat like an auto hold feature. Now, when you're going, you know, 50 miles an hour or whatever, and then you hit the accelerator, you have a lot of pedal left, you know. It doesn't feel weak at that higher speeds. So let's go ahead and stop, and then accelerate. So that's in touring, like a tour mode, drive mode. The sport mode doesn't really make a huge difference. The touring is fine. It gives you a nice comfort drive, and you don't have to worry about power because it's going to be there. So now I have it in sport mode. Accelerate. So yeah, it's a little bit more responsive pedal, but as far as just your acceleration, it's not really a huge deal. Now, if you're in sport mode and you're going, you know, a little bit of speed here, and then you hit the accelerator, that's where the sport mode really comes in handy, because it has a more responsive pedal. So it just feels like you get a little bit more energy when you're not just going from a 0 dead stop and accelerating. You're actually going forward, and then you punch it. You get a little bit more punch in that acceleration. Now, I have had some issues with the Super Cruise system. It'll probably work fine now. Yeah, it's working. But the thing about it is that sometimes it'll be the same road that I've used it before. It'll just say Super Cruise not available and give you no reason whatsoever. Sometimes it'll give you a reason, like, you know, road information not available or whatever. But it's supposed to give you a reason. But there's times in which, like, the entire way I'm driving, it doesn't work at all. And that's one issue where it just doesn't work. Another issue is that it'll tell you to take over like a stop sign or whatever the case may be, the reason there's whatever the reason it tells you to take over, but it tells you to take over, right? And then I'm like, okay, I'm grabbing the steering wheel, and then it says it starts flashing and beeping, and then it's like take over. I'm like jerking the steering wheel, and it doesn't acknowledge that I'm actually holding the steering wheel and I'm taking over. And then it will basically lock me out of Super Cruise. And I'm like, what was that all about? You know, and then there was another time in which I did the same thing, but I was coming to a stop sign, and it basically slapped on the brakes and then turned on the four-way flashers and then locked me out of Super Cruise. You know, so it's like sometimes it doesn't know. So what I do is when I know it gets to a point where I know it's going to run out or whatever, I just go and turn it off preemptively, so that way it doesn't flip out on me and cause a problem. I would probably see right now it's telling me to do it. Let me see. Yeah, it recognizes that time. Okay, so I had to turn the steering wheel. There's not a grip sensor, which is very odd to me. You have to turn the steering wheel to let it recognize that you're holding the steering wheel, and then it doesn't always work. You know, I mean, I literally just violently shaking the steering wheel to get it to acknowledge that I'm holding it, and it just like it reminds me of RoboCop, where it was you know, it's like put the gun down, then you know, it's like, and then the guy puts the gun down, and it's like, and then he says it again. The robot's like, put it down, and you know, if you're familiar with what I'm talking about. But anyways, that's what it feels like. It feels like it's telling you to do something, you do it, and then it does acknowledge it. And when you're driving, you know, it's a little bit annoying. But it's not all the time, but it is very annoying when it happens. It's a pain because it locks you out of Super Cruise. So you literally have to stop the vehicle and then turn the car off and then restart it to get it to work again. So let's say you're on a long trip, you get out on the highway, you finally get out on the highway, you get everything, you know, all your stuff in the car, you get the whole family in the car and you're ready to go, and then you're out on the highway and then you get locked out of Super Cruise until you stop again. So it might be an hour or more or couple hours of driving on the highway before you stop again. So it's like, and then you can't use the Super Cruise. But yeah, it could just be this particular vehicle. Maybe there's some kind of issue. Maybe there's a software update or something that has to happen. But it has happened a couple times, and you know, just want to mention that.